Hello guys, so in today's video I'll be showing you how to balance a chemical equation. So what is a chemical equation? A chemical equation is a symbolic way of representing a chemical reaction. In a chemical reaction we have a reactant which reacts to form a product. So when we write a chemical equation, we always have the reactant on the left hand side and the product on the right hand side. Let me give you an example of a chemical equation. Let's say we have H2 plus O give us H2O. Okay. This, so this is an example of a chemical equation. Hydrogen reacting with oxygen to give water. Example 1 says balance the chemical equation this. So what we are meant to do here is that the first thing we are meant to do is to check if the reactant is equal to the product. We have S8 and S. We have O2 and O2. So it's not balanced. And we have 8 atoms of sulfur here and 1 atom of sulfur here. So now we are going to balance it. When we are balancing a chemical equation, we use coefficients to balance. We don't use subscripts. What I mean by coefficients is the number at close to the element or the compound. So for sulfur, we have 1 here. The 1 is not written, it's already there. Anytime you don't see a coefficient, just take note that is 1 that is the coefficient. So the coefficient here is 1, 1, 1. Why the subscript is these numbers 1, 2 is here. These numbers are the subscripts, are what is called subscripts. So when we are balancing a chemical equation, we use coefficients to balance, we don't use subscripts. So now looking at this, we have 8 atoms of sulfur on the left hand side, that's the reactant side, and we have only 1 atom of sulfur here. So let's add 8 atoms of sulfur to balance the number of atoms of sulfur on the left and the right. So adding 8 atoms of sulfur here now. We now have 8 atoms, but these 8 affected our oxygen, which is making our oxygen 16. We have 8 times 2, which is 16. So our oxygen now has 16 atoms, but our oxygen here has only 2 atoms. So to balance the 1 here and here, we are going to add another 8 to make it 16. So now we check if it's balanced. We have 8 atoms of sulfur here, we have 8 atoms of sulfur here. We have 16 atoms of oxygen here, we have 16 atoms of oxygen here. So this equation is balanced. So example 2, we have this equation and we are meant to balance it. To balance it, first we are going to check if it's balanced. We have 1 atom of sodium here and 2 atoms of sodium here and 8 atoms of sodium sulfur here and 1 atom of sulfur here. So to balance this, now let's analyze this. We have 1 atom, 2 atoms here. So let's try adding 2 here. So we have 2 atoms of sodium here and we have 2 atoms of sodium. Sodium is balanced. Now to balance sulfur, we need to add 8 atoms of sulfur here. So we have 8 atoms of sulfur. So sulfur is 8, but this 8 affected the sodium, making sodium 16. But sulfur is now balanced. So we'll go back to this and look at it. So we have 16 atoms of sodium here, but 2 atoms of sodium. So we are going to remove these 2 and add 16. So now we have 16 atoms of sodium, 8 atoms of sulfur, and we have 16 atoms of sodium here and 8 atoms of sulfur. So the equation is balanced. I will go to the next example. So example 3, we have this. So first we check if the equation is balanced. We have 1 atom of sulfur here, 1 atom of sulfur here, 2 atoms of oxygen here, 2 atoms here and 2 atoms here, making these 4 atoms of oxygen on the left hand side and 3 atoms of oxygen on the right hand side. So it's not balanced. So for us to balance this, let's try to look at it. Sulfur is one here, sulfur is one here. So we have oxygen, we have four atoms of oxygen on the left hand side and three atoms of oxygen on the right hand side. So we have an even and an odd number. For us to balance even and odd number, we have to take their LCM, which is 12. So adding what we 3 multiply to give us 12 is 4. So put 4 here. Now we have four atoms here, but we need we want our oxygen to also be 12 here. We want oxygen here to give us 12 atoms to make it equal to this. But our oxygen are on different sides. This one is attached to sulfur, while this one is attached is on its own. But we want the atoms to be 12. But looking at this, we have four atoms of sulfur and we have only one atom of sulfur. So to balance this, we are going to add 4. So we now have four atoms of sulfur and four atoms of sulfur. So our sulfur now is balanced. And these four affected the oxygen, which is now 8 here. So 8 plus 2 is 10. But it's not up to 12, which is the one here. This one is 12 atoms. But we want our oxygen to be 12. So to make it 12, we'll add another 2 atoms. So we are going to add 2 to oxygen molecule. So making it now, let's check if it's balanced. We have 4 times 2, 8. 2 times 2, 4. So 8 plus 4, we have 12. Sulfur 4, 4. Oxygen here 4 times 3, we have 12. So our oxygen is balanced and everything is balanced. We have balanced the equation. So here you are asked to balance this chemical equation. Now let's check if it's balanced. Iodine here is 2, iodine here is 1, fluorine here is 2, fluorine here is 7, so it's not balanced. So let's try to check how to balance it. We have 2 iodine here and 1 iodine here. So let's try adding 2 here. So now we have 2 iodine and 2 iodine, making iodine to be balanced. But our fluorine is not balanced. Fluorine here is 14, 2 times 7, 14. But fluorine here is 2. So what are we going to add as the coefficient of fluorine here to give us 14? We add 7. So 7 times to give us 14. So our equation is balanced. So now let's go to the next example. So example 5, the last example. We have this equation and we are meant to balance it. They asked us to balance it. So we are going to check if it's balanced. Now we have nitrogen here to be 1, nitrogen here to be 1. So nitrogen is equal hydrogen here 3, hydrogen here 2, oxygen here 2, oxygen here 2. This is 1 and 1. 1 plus 1, 2. So oxygen is 2, 2. But our hydrogen is not balanced. So the equation is not balanced. So now let's check how we can balance this. We have nitrogen here 1, nitrogen here 1, hydrogen here 3, hydrogen here 2. So this is an odd number, this is an even number. So we'll take the LCM of this 2 and 3. LCM of 2 and 3 is 6. So we are going to look for the number that will add to this to be the coefficient of this that will give us 6. So what number will we put here so that we'll have 6 atoms of hydrogen? So the number is 2. So we'll add 2 here. Now we have 6 atoms of hydrogen. And we add 2 here. No. And we add 3 here. That is 6 atoms of hydrogen. 6 atoms of hydrogen, 6 atoms of hydrogen. So hydrogen is balanced. But this coefficient affected our this nitrogen and this coefficient affected this oxygen. So we have this has affected other elements. So let's check how we are going to do those ones. So nitrogen here is 2, nitrogen here is 1. So we'll add 2 here. to make nitrogen balanced. So I think it's only oxygen that is left. Hydrogen here 6, hydrogen here 6, nitrogen here 2, nitrogen here 2. So only oxygen is left unbalanced. Oxygen here is 2, while oxygen here 2 times 1 2 and 3 times 1 3. So 3 plus 2 5. Oxygen here is 5, but oxygen here is 2. So for us to make oxygen to be 5 here, we are going to put a fraction 5 over 2. 5 over 2 times 2 is going to give us 5. But in our equation, we are not supposed to have a fraction. So to change this to whole number, we are going to multiply the whole equation by 2. So multiplying this whole equation by 2, we are going to be having 4 ammonia plus 5 oxygen give us 4 NO plus 6 H2O. So now let's check if it's balanced. We have 4 nitrogen here, 4 nitrogen here. This times this is 12. 12 hydrogen here, and 6 times 2 12. 12 hydrogen here, and this is 10 oxygen here. This plus this times this 4. 6 times 1 6. So 4 plus 6 is 10. So we have 10 oxygen here, 10 oxygen here. So the equation is balanced. So that's it for this video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching and God bless you.